NFL free agency has been a ton of fun this year. And of course, there are implications for your fantasy football teams. So, joining me today, Michael Fabiano, our senior fantasy analyst at SI, to help us identify the winners and the losers. All right, Fabs, lots and lots of moves, players with new teams. Who are you circling on your fantasy draft boards?
Jen, very few things in life are perfect, right? The 70s Dolphins were perfect. The Def Leppard Hysteria album, perfect. Sydney Sweeney, at least to me, perfect. But the matches for Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry are absolutely
Mhm.
perfect. First, let's start with Saquon Barkley going to the Philadelphia Eagles, a team with a really good offensive line, a really good quarterback, and a really good offense, which he did not have for most of his time with the New York Giants. Oh, by the way, he gets to play the Giants twice, too. Can you say revenge? So Saquon Barkley in a perfect spot in Philadelphia. He is back to being a top 5 fantasy running back. And then Derrick Henry, Baltimore, perfect. It's a marriage made in heaven. Last year, Jen, Gus Edwards had 13 rushing touchdowns for Baltimore. How many do you think Derrick Henry's going to get? He is 30. I know he's had a lot of wear and tear on him, but he still finishes the RB8 last year, and that's in PPR leagues. Derrick Henry is a top 12 fantasy running back in Baltimore. Cannot wait to watch that offense with him and Lamar in the same backfield.
Yeah, Derrick Henry had 12 rushing touchdowns for Tennessee with a really terrible O line last year and over 1,000 yards. So, yeah, as you say, giddy up. Okay, so there are a few players that are probably losers as far as fantasy is concerned. And as we know, there's a difference between real life football and fantasy football. But as far as fantasy football goes, who are you fading?
You may disagree with this, but I kind of think Kirk Cousins is a loser. Now, he's not a significant loser, but think
Mhm.
about it. He goes from Minnesota, where he was on pace to throw for 5,000 yards last year with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, to Atlanta, which, and I'm not saying Atlanta doesn't have some talent, but Drake London is unproven. Kyle Pitts hasn't done anything in the league, although looks like he's going to trade his number for more targets. And they have Bijan Robinson, which is obviously huge, but I don't know that that is going to be an upgrade from a fantasy perspective. I think Kirk Cousins drops a few spots at the quarterback position, which is very deep. And then Tony Pollard, and this is not me hating on a former Cowboy. I just don't love the fit in Tennessee. Why? Well, they've got a guy named Tajay Spears who's really good. And I think this could end up being a committee situation where Tony Pollard is not a lead back like he was last year with our beloved Dallas Cowboys. And keep in mind, Tennessee added Calvin Ridley. They also have DeAndre Hopkins. The offense is going to look a heck of a lot different with Brian Callahan there as the head coach. So I don't love the fit for Pollard. He's probably still an RB2, but somewhat of an uninspiring one.
Yeah, he was uninspiring for the Cowboys last season for those who took him really early. And both the guys that you mentioned, by the way, dealing with coming back from injuries. I mean, Pollard wasn't really himself to the last few weeks. He was coming off an injury, and Kirk Cousins, he's coming back from an Achilles tear. So I'm with you. No, I don't disagree at all, Fabs. I think you're right about both these calls. So beware, everyone. For all of Fabiano's advice, all the winners and losers from this NFL draft season, or sorry, NFL free agent season, be sure to check us out at si.com/fantasy.